Hello, I'm John Hamm.
I'm Elisabeth Moss.
And
I'm John
also
Slattery.
Christina Hendricks. We are going to be talking to you today about this episode, Red in the Face.
Of the Madman. Look at that special guest appearance by...
This is, I hated having to do this every episode, fall down this thing.
It's dangerous.
It just hurt after a while.
There's a little piece of lint on the back of that jacket. Have you noticed that? It always bothers me. Driving down La Brea.
Bedard.
Look at that. Bridget Bedard.
Tim Hunter.
God bless her. Look at how wrinkly your head is.
Shh. I'm acting.
This episode was directed by Tim Hunter, who, among other things, directed the feature River's Edge. He's great. Did several episodes.
This is January Jones. I play Betty Draper.
You do that just like we do at the table read. I'm Vincent Kartheiser. I play Michael Gladis and Robert Morse, but not in scenes together.
Good. Although you probably could play Robert Morse at the same time.
No one could play Robert Morse.
Well, as far as I know, Betty was never on any prescription drugs, at least in this season. She may have needed some, but...
That's the one big difference between January and Betty, is the amount of prescription drugs that they were on during the film.
Gross.
That's not that gross. I mean, you think a white Russian is just milk, vodka, and Kahlua, yeah. So, I mean, it's not that difference. I'd drink some vodka and some milk, sure.
Oh, God.
I look like my grandfather with those glasses. Those are actually my glasses. Robert Morse, who everybody loves.
I don't know if I get that joke.
There are a lot of jokes that I don't get on the show. I have to ask about.
Oh, milk and vodka. God, who gets sick of that?
God, I love it. Never not tasty. Cue cards are on the ceiling. That's what he's looking at. Neville Chamberlain's mother would have given Hitler this...
And I do.
Peanut.
Penis.
Which they had to reloop because it sounded like penis. Good night, penis. Did you just call him penis?
Thankfully, my character does not smoke.
I think it just shows the sign of the separation between the generations, the older generation, and then the generations that, the war veterans that smoked a lot became sort of fashionable and glamorous.
This is nice, January. We never have any scenes together.
No, we never have had a scene together. Maybe next season will be the Betty Pete affair.
I don't think so. Although I do love these two together.
These guys are great.
They're so beautiful to watch. Their timing, and it's like a jazz performance almost.
The lovely Christina Hendricks. Dan Bishop, the production designer, just does a great job. Everybody, look at the costumes. I'm not sure at this point who our DP was. I kind of came and went. I missed a few episodes doing some other job. Great sets. Look at the colors. Janie Bryant does the costumes, and they're fantastic. Although they're really intensely uncomfortable. The suit that I'm wearing, that vest, is about 3 sizes too small. And that, I think it's called a club collar. I hated that shirt. And I made her promise that I would never have to wear it again. And then every time I show up for work, it would be in my closet just to break my balls. She'd do it.
I like that she's strong with him. She doesn't give it up. Although I bet she would if he asked her to.
Donald.
It's a great...
What's up, close talkie?
What's up? Hey, your breath smells like shit. Look at you. You leaned in. I can talk closer than you.
Look at that hair. Cut sharp, you know? I can't wait to get mine cut sharp again. Now, this is actually the relationship between all three of us. Precisely mimics our relationship in real life. Except for, John Slattery's not our boss.
I do love doing that. That's basically the relationship we have with Vincent on the set, too.
I think the nature of man, too, is, I mean, you have friends and comrades, but there's always a healthy competition, I think, within this business atmosphere. Or, it's hard to have true friends,
Well, you don't want to betray any weaknesses because they could be taken advantage of. And that does happen in one of the episodes, the throwing of the oyster episode.
Sure.
Musso and Frank's, Hollywood Boulevard.
Was that the Mussos?
1990s, 1919.
That's right. It was the other side of Musso.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't Musso.
This was
Musso.
Musso.
was the where we shot the in
This
the
was
booth.
the other side.
It was the other side. That's right.
So if you want to go.
And all these guys are just pantomiming, and it was really quiet. And you have to talk loud. They go, pretend you're talking over a crowd.
Well, hello.
Polka dots. Polka dots looks like a lot of fun. What a prince.
Oh, Matthew.
I'll have a water with an olive in it, please. My friend will have iced tea with fake ice.
There's a lot of cool places downtown that they use. And they don't even have to add a lot of set, do they? They add our glasses and like the martini glasses. The glasses, it's like always a big debate about the size of the glasses.
LA's a big city. And it was, LA was a pretty hopping place in the 1950s, too.
Especially downtown. Yeah, it hasn't really changed a lot. A lot of the theaters, there's a one episode, number 9, where Betty becomes a model again. That theater we shot in and where the opera was so beautiful. Can't remember what it's called. It hasn't changed at all.
Oh, I know too well. I know too well.
I love this part right here.
Yeah.
My eyes are burning. Don't be ridiculous. This amazing children just didn't drop dead more than they did back then.
That was fun, eating 42 steaks.
Not only did we eat 42 steaks, but we ate steak at 6 in the morning, and then by the time we covered this thing, remember we shot it, they do this thing, block shooting, where they shoot one side of the room. So you start at 6 in the morning or whatever, and then about 1 in the morning, you do the coverage for this shot.
This was a long day, I remember that.
It was a really long day. Eating and drinking cake and steak.
Cake and steak and grape juice.
And cigarettes.
Big girl pajamas.
That's what I wear. With feet in them.
You've been a big girl for a long time.
You big girl. Look at that wine, doesn't look real in your glass.
That's my big girl.
I think it was really neat the way people presented themselves. They really put their best foot forward at all times. I think it was just part of the time. I really would love to see a little bit of that come back. The glamorous. I mean, and I know I say that now, and I'll regret it when if if it does come back and I have to put hours into getting ready every day. But
I think it's hard to judge because, what we see is movie stars from the 1960s. And I think if you put every woman, when I walk into a set of 200 people dressed in 1960s and done up like that, it's not always that glamorous. And I mean, I think as a man, you can usually see through a lot of that stuff.
Great writing. Always great writing. So, that's what I mean. So this is the same shot from the later scene. So we did that in the morning. And then as the scene progresses, you shoot, so it was constantly sort of redressing for the second scene or the third scene in the row. And then you go back and shoot the coverage from the first scene. So it's really a disjointed way to work. It's supposedly, more effective time-wise. Makes the day go by, a more effective use of everybody's time. But I dispute that. Everybody gets confused as to where we are and what we're shooting and whether we've left anything out.
But the professional wisdom says that one of our...
it's just a different sort of effort. I mean, when I decide to go out on the town or whatever, or go to a party or something, I put a couple hours I put an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. I put some time into it.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much, but the women then, they set their hair once a week and they were done. So you put on a girdle and a dress and some earrings and some lipstick and that's it. You're good to go. I mean, I don't spend that much time in the makeup and hair trailer in the morning. I mean, you think I would. They kind of have my hair down to a science, as I think that Betty would have, too. I mean, it's just a different sort of look. I mean, instead of wearing girdles, women wear jeans that come down to their wherever.
Yeah, and
There's
instead of spending 6 hours a day getting ready to make a man happy, I think they spend more time creating and contributing back to society and themselves. So I think that also contributes to a modern woman's self-confidence and strength. And I think there is a modern man that finds that attractive, but you should really ask someone who's not abstinent.
Oh, Lord.
with the Lord again.
Very religious.
I know you are. That's why I think you'd be into my abstinence.
Okay. I'll let that go.
43 pieces of cake later. So again, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you had to remember this speech, which started initially at 8 o'clock in the morning. You spend the whole day in the living room, and you have it all worked out when you go to work. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. By the time you actually do the coverage on this long speech, which you've really focused on and worked on, you have absolutely no idea what you were supposed to do. And you can barely remember any of the words.
I love his little tie bars that he has. I never had even seen those before. It's stuck behind his tie, but he's constantly losing it on set. It's constantly rolling around someplace.
He's quite the prankster, and he's joking a lot, and he's fun. I mean, the scenes I've had with him are either at dinner, or they're always at a dinner of sorts, whether it's in a restaurant or at the home. And then later on, in the scene after this in the kitchen, he's a lot of fun. He's very easy. He's very comfortable. He's been doing this a long time. The hardest part for me was just keeping a straight face a lot of the time.
Isn't that something?
It's just always making noises or saying something under his breath or doing something to make your acting look terrible so he looks better, maybe.
Not so much a prank as a malicious betrayal
Yes.
of the other thespian's trust.
Yes.
Is what I think that's what she means. No,
Yeah.
I think it's constantly with the voices and the joking and the...
Him and John get along really well, too. John Hamm and John Slattery they're always quoting a movie that they both know or doing a weird voice. I think they grew up together. They're like long-lost brothers. They've seen every single movie that the other one's seen.
Can I ask you, how did it feel in this moment, having him so close to you?
I was giggling a lot.
Really?
I felt weird.
He's a strong man. A handsome, strong
He is a handsome man.
in a vest and a tie, and he's in your space.
You know what? It worked for the scene. It's supposed to be awkward, and it was.
Oh, this is nice. I like this part.
Giving you hot pants. You smell so good.
I can make more coffee.
I just want you to know that when I go to sleep tonight, I will be thinking all about you.
What does that mean?
It just means I'll be thinking about the scene that we just shot.
Anyway.
Uh-oh.
Put those files in the
Wait a
idea
second.
machine.
Yeah, so anyway. And that's how they turned that double play. Thanks. All of a sudden, I'm really drunk.
You just get usually drunk.
Possibly. Next thing you know.
And then you're drinking in a bar and they tell you your kid's been born.
One minute you're trying to pick up your friend's wife.
The roadie.
I'll take this for
I'll
the
take
road.
this for the road.
Takes the
I
glass.
have fond memories of my own father doing that. Oh,
This is good too.
I find us hilarious.
Nothing like off stage. The classic off-stage screeching.
Oh, but it's not really not great, though. I have to go yell at my wife.
And the tone changes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I said it. That's you.
I'm the drunk boss.
I think she liked the attention. Any sort of attention she can get, whether it's from a 9-year-old or his boss, is welcome. I think she's very lonely, and I think she used to get a lot of attention when she was younger.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't make me feel better, is what I'm trying to say.
She told you.
She did.
She did.
She wins that fight.
Yeah.
Ooh, but then I got that in. Wapow.
Yikes.
How's that feel, Betty?
I'll show you, Miss Betty.
I'm gonna go
I'm gonna go
be another person.
brush my teeth in my trailer.
It was CG, that Sterling Cooper advertising thing.
It was?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Missed it.
Is it the chip and dip?
It's a chip and dip.
God, you had to say that a lot.
It's a chip and dip.
Chip and dip.
Chip and dip. You put your chips on the outside and your dip in the middle. Now, this is actually from, I'm sure Matthew Weiner will say it. This is actually from Matthew Weiner's parents.
Kitchen.
Yeah. And we treated this thing like it was a $35,000 diamond that the queen owned. And this thing was treated like a newborn baby.
It had its own trailer.
It had its own trailer. It had like 3 sets of security guards that watched it. Had a pillow that it sat on in the corner, listening to Mozart. Kind of fucked up, actually. But it was never off screen like there. There's no chip and dip in that box. It was only used for 1 or 2. It was like a newborn baby. You can only use it for like 15 minutes, an hour, whatever.
I bet it meant more to Matt than his mom, actually.
And this scene was fun. I always like working with the boys.
I have that chair in my house. All the furniture is all period accurate, vintage, mid-century modern stuff. That's a Time Life chair. I think designed by Philip Johnson. I mean, it's just the detail with which everything is done on the show is unbelievable, given the budget and the time constraints and everything. And all the clothes, all the, the set design, the set dressing, props, amazing, endless.
I think we need to bring back the sorry I almost screwed your wife, here's a $40 bottle of scotch. Because no one ever gives me a $40 bottle of scotch.
I don't know how they functioned having all these. If I have 1 shot of hard liquor at like 11 at night, I have to go to bed. I don't know how they go back to work and they built up a tolerance, I suppose.
But I think that's a part of all job, really. I mean, no matter what level, Don has to do it, Cooper has to do it, Sterling has to do it. That's just part of business. A lot of business is done on golf courses and over glasses of different liquors and sometimes over broads or dames. And here's the thing, and I don't really know that much about it, but an account comes in, says, hey, we need you to write something for this. You go to your office, you sit down, you go, boom, there's the idea. You tell a few people to go make it. You got nothing to do until it comes back, until you get a mock-up in a couple of days of it. So you drink. I mean,
unless you have like a short story or a book to write or overly ambitious. Like Ken.
What are you trying to say? Pete Campbell's not ambitious?
Those pictures behind him of the building across the street's these huge photographs. Huge, really detailed photographs that they roll. They're like on curtains, and they pull them out, depending on where we're supposed to be. They're amazing. Huge blow-ups.
Matt Weiner.
I'm not familiar with Matt Weiner.
Oh, he's one of the writers.
I guess he's one of the typers.
Yeah, he comes down to the set and says, don't eat that when you talk. Don't eat that. Eating and talking is disgusting.
Which I don't think is true at all. Because people who said that are kind
Mostly
of full of shit.
Matt Weiner knows everything about this show in every detail. So we try to avoid him because he'll just tell you what to do.
This set is in another building. Just kind of empty building spaces that they can...
But still the studio, right? Downtown?
Yeah, it was in the studio, but it was in the building.
There's a lot of cool buildings in
There is.
that second shot.
That's really what... Whenever they show the chip neighbors, she go, ha.
This girl's good. She has no time for Pete Campbell. Look at him. He hates her.
I was channeling Matthew Weiner for that. Why would you do that? A little bit.
Humps the Camel Campbell. I have no idea what that nickname means.
Humps, Campbell the camel, Campbell the camel, Humps. It's like real. It's like real.
Betty Birdie. There is not really a lot of thought in the nicknames on.
Oh no, I think there's a lot of thought actually because that's how nicknames are. Like I have a friend who, his name was, Adam Ward, which is AW, which is, A&W root beer, which is old-fashioned root beer. So now his nickname is old-fashioned. And it's like Campbell becomes Camel, becomes Humps, becomes, I don't know, tumor on the back.
I think that's a guy thing.
I genuinely was jealous and envious of that person. So it worked for the character. I'm generally genuinely envious of anyone more than an inch taller than me.
Poor Pete.
Not interested. See how the head bobs? The director has to get... We have a limit to head bobs that I can do in a scene, and if I pass it, it's an immediate cut. We have someone we have hired just to keep count of my head bobs.
Do you really?
No,
like Cindy
January,
Crawford.
we really don't. I was just joking. Wait, does Cindy Crawford have that?
You can't see me right now, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, rifle in the workplace. I like Aaron's face here. He looks like he's about to throw up. Pete Campbell with a gun. Oh my God. And Rich, I think, was genuinely terrified, even though the gun, I don't even think works. He didn't even want.
I didn't like seeing it.
He didn't like it around me at all.
Kind of a maniacal laugh.
That's actually my real laugh.
I know.
That's a great shot.
Such a great shot.
That's a shot where they put the barrel of a gun on the end of the actual camera, which is on a dolly, and move it around like that, focus off of the end of the... It's pretty elaborate, actually.
She's great. I love the music.
Hold my gun.
You've shot before.
Birds. God, I love having a rifle.
Yeah, but you're a shooter, aren't you?
Don't say I'm a shooter. Yeah.
Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, I had no problem.
What do you mean? Don't say
My
you're
favorite.
a shooter.
Well, shooter could
Not
be
like
anything now.
drugs.
No. Yes, I've shot birds before.
Well, then you're a shooter.
I'm gonna get those people after me.
The Themas.
PETA.
Pitas.
Thema.
Knows the real threat of communism home and abroad.
I didn't do too much research.
John Slattery was 25 in 1960.
Yeah,
so
I was there. I lived through all of
I
it.
lived through it.
I was right there on the grassy knoll. You know, but not about the politics of the time, no. Nor anything else, for that matter. It's just all right there. And smoking and drinking, I could do already.
We have researched that quite a bit.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, I have extensive research into the alcohol and tobacco habits of people in 1960.
Pete Campbell is scoffed at here, but he's actually right. You know, they all think he's being a fool, but as usual, Pete Campbell's right.
I feel for Pete a lot, actually.
What kind of feelings do you have for Pete, actually?
Well, I just think that he's misunderstood. He's trying hard.
Thank you. I love the guy's reactions to me.
Wink.
Wink. Wink. Put on the
I'm
glasses.
old.
This was the whole thing. Like, I'm old. Look. Look, I'm supposed to be old. And he's looking at me like, not old, you're stupid. But you're looking at me like,
Old.
You old fart. Uh-oh.
Hi, honey. I made a roast beef. Just got the strings.
Oh, roast beef. You know it's just me tonight, right?
Ow. Ow. How can you be
I'm
so
still
mean
mad.
to her?
I'm
She's
still
so
mad.
pretty.
Come on.
God.
I'm still mad about the other
She's
night.
like, I'm going to stab
like, you know
him. I'm
what?
going to take
I'm
this
gonna-
knife. I'm going to
here's the
shove
deal.
this roast beef up your ass. That's what I'm going to do.
This is once again, basically, that is the set. That's all we ever made of it, was right there. And I've never seen this before. And you were doing a scene, January, right next door while we did that at the same time because we kept alternating.
Yeah, a lot
And I
of your house scene in my house, or your house sets in my house sets are on the same stage.
Because I'd be getting into my mode and I just hear Tim Hunter yelling, "No, no, January, not like that. Not like that."
Yeah, it tends to yell.
Yeah, Tim's as quiet as a quail.
I love this scene.
That January shot.
Wasn't there a line that you
There
said
were lines
usually?
there.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. How do you feel about me physically?
Ever love another man?
How long does it take for the elevator to get to the first floor?
Boobs.
To look at my boobs.
Wow, look at that. It was cold in that office. That is impressive.
Oh, that's her bra.
Very, very good speech.
Yes. Everything about this scene, I love.
No.
I don't think so. Turned out it was a rat.
Matthew said to me, he came up to me at one point and he said, "You're too young to get this, but that speech would get you laid." I didn't really understand. I still don't really understand that. But some people have come up to me, and I've told that to them, some females, and they've said, yeah, there's something masculine about it. But I think it's Pete's want to be something completely opposite than he is. You know, it's this desire inside your head that you are this other man, and you could, if you really wanted to, you could climb a mountain, you know? And you're not thinking about every step it really takes. And
between a couple of trees.
I think he really does want that. And I think in some way he thinks he's able to have it. And of course, Elisabeth Moss is amazing in this because she's
Right out of the side.
So taken in by it.
she's so taken in, and the imagery and the idea of her being that woman.
The lighting is great. Colors. Looks like a Douglas Sirk movie.
While she watches.
That would be wonderful.
This cut to that shot right there. Look at those two. Look at his feet. That's the greatest. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go have a muffin.
My favorite shot. I'm staggering. I need to have
My
I'm
blood
top
sugar is-
heavy, first of all.
She's now gonna go use the relaxizer.
Her body posture is perfect as she walks right from that scene. So interesting.
Wait,
I think okay. This is, oh boy.
Need a Danish.
looks good.
Look at that set.
This was an amazing set. They built this set in our actual, where we ate lunch every day. It's all real food. After we were done shooting it, I got a bag and took home a bunch of fruit.
For real?
Yeah. They were going to give it to a shelter or something, but
Well, hello.
What are you doing here in the supermarket? Glenn.
Okay.
Go ahead then.
That sounds dirty.
What were you doing going through Glenn's treasure box?
Fight. It wasn't even scripted, was it?
no, I just slapped her.
January has kind of a violent streak.
Never rage issue.
Mm.
That's not the one they should have used, though. There's one where I hit her really, really hard. And the camera was right there, so I had to duck down right afterwards, and I was just cracking up, and I had to apologize after I stood up, but
That's not actually an oyster I'm eating. It's
Weren't they?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Oh, I don't know. What were they? Remember there were some plastic ones?
The
and
plastic
and the
were
plastic
god
ones
awful.
were probably more poisonous than the real ones. Actually, we moved pretty quickly.
This was also at Musso and Frank's.
Musso and Frank's, 9 o'clock in the morning, eating oysters. By the time we got to the actual oysters, though, they'd been sitting in the kitchen for a while.
ugh, so disgusting. I hate oysters. I think anything that you have to cover with all kinds of things to conceal its flavor shouldn't be eaten.
I'll eat anything.
Sweating. A little sweat.
What is that? Cheesecake and grease.
This is Moose Home Frank.
This is good. Oh. Another good one.
That's so beautiful. Mouth is like, oh my goodness, a drop of strawberry. That's so beautiful. He's funny. I think that's one thing that is so great about this show, and especially John Hamm is he's actually really, really funny. And to be on set with him, he's got this really subtle.
He's got great timing, yeah.
Yeah, he's got really great timing, and he's really funny. And I think that's something that will be more and more explored through next season, kind of taking advantage of all of John Hamm's talents.
Day drinking.
Drinking in a day.
Who could that
by
be?
myself. Maybe it's my drinking buddy.
I have this shirt. Yeah, why don't they just say what the hell happened in the supermarket? They have to, like, beat around the bush so badly.
Loaded with tension. She just downed it.
Clang.
Burp. That's good.
Recon.
I know I was going to say, is that you learned that from
you.
from you in the war?
This was the scene you were doing while I was doing the gun on the lap.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And Matthew did run on set as Tim was leaving.
Oh, yeah.
He had to go to Chicago, I think Tim did, for his
His daughter's graduation. Right.
See, we know all the insides on Tim Hunter's life. And I watched you do this scene. I was telling dirty jokes behind the monitor in between takes. You didn't know that.
Oh.
Now you do.
How respectful.
Hey, you know, it was in between takes, and during the take, we were all silenced by the beauty on the screen.
Long walks. Like, long walks is going to make someone a bad person.
I love that.
Oh, it's all his fault.
I loved saying that so much. I met John Kennedy. I think it's his fault. I can't like John Kennedy now because she does. They're so threatened by her. It's so funny.
Smoking, pregnant. She's only 3 or 4 months, though, so it's... In the first trimester, smoking is actually okay. They found that. Smoking and drinking. She's not inhaling that much anyway, so... It's like they say you can have 1 glass of wine, you can have, you know, a couple of hits of a cigarette. Non-filters, too. That's good. They're organic cigarettes, too, which are much better for the baby than a processed cigarette. Ouch.
That's how I feel.
And any woman likes to be looked at that way, you know? Like to be appreciated. Or still think that you look nice.
Really?
Yes, Vincent.
Okay.
You should know that.
You know what? I should know that, but there's so many conflicting stories on the news.
Not easy being Betty Draper, you know. I've tried it.
That's a comfort.
So the elevator's out. That's what they're saying, which was set up by Don earlier in the scene with Hollis, where he paid him off. Yeah, that's the lobby of the Unical building, which is right on the stage, right next to the stage. And fortunately, it looks like it's period accurate. And this is the stairwell right in the building.
This is the same four
flights of stairs
that we walked up 15 different times.
Run down the stairs, then run back up to get winded. Mr. Funny Man.
That competition, that it's kind of what I was talking about earlier, between any man, whether they be friends or not, there kind of has to be defined roles in strange ways, and different situations at different ones have different power, and those boundaries are kind of, they're tested, but they're, there's,
It's also
they're kept,
could be a bit of revenge for the whole Betty issue.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that's a boundary that's being tested and being kind of kept in check.
Right. Lines were crossed, and so we're still friends, but...
Yeah, but I don't know if it ever goes away, I think you always remember, and I think Don Draper is a man that everyone in the office wants to be. Every man in the office is aspiring to. That's why he met, part of what being with Betty was about, even if just for a moment, if he could just catch her attention for a moment, he's...
Got a piece of Don, or what Don has, yeah.
Right, he's on some sort of par with Don. Sure, and that's what I mean. This episode's not just about one. I don't think in my mind that it's not only about the one act of you hit on my wife, now you get this. It's really establishing this rule. I mean, I go out with friends all the time, and there are friends that when they walk to the bathroom, the women look, or you can hear people. And the male ego is such a tragically gentle thing that it has to be, constantly has to be tested and
It's putting Roger back in his place. There are set ground rules in Don's life, anyway.
Uh-oh. We shot this all in about an hour.
Yeah, we did, actually.
Oh, look, 20. Same stairwell.
I'm fine. Lost my tie clip. I'll find it. Go on.
My tie clip.
Sure? I said go on.
Say, go on.
I said, go on.
Go on, I said.
Found it.
Oh, Sterling Cooper. Look at you. You look like,
I might, I wet him.
I think I went.
The hell were you?
Elevator's out.
It's quite a hike. Where's Sterling?
He's coming.
He's coming.
Oh, here are the troops now. Lou, Michael, Charlie.
This is my dad's favorite scene in the whole season. Just the throwing up part. He almost choked laughing. I was home for Thanksgiving. We were watching it on TV. They used a tube up his leg, I think.
yeah.
How many times did they have to do it?
Well, the way they did it is they had the tube coming up, and then they had to do a shot of just the area so they could do their magic. And then we'd shoot just an empty frame of the same shot, a static shot, or a plate. That's a big one.
So they ran a tube up my pant leg. There's a guy just off camera to the right there with a pump, and he'd go 3, 2, 1, and I'd sort of bend over, and they'd shoot up this clear tube. I think there was clam chowder mixed with some other stuff. He was really relishing going, telling us what was in it, and it was so disgusting. And it was taped to the side of my face, taped to my ear, and we did it 3 times, I think 3 times. And one was too fast, one was too... It just went on. I mean, no one, could possibly have that much liquid in their stomach. It was a huge puddle of clam chowder on the floor. Finally, they picked, I think, the middle one.
Good. And now the subtle checkmate.
I know. It's so great. It looks like an oyster. Music's so great.
He's so great. Yeah. That's Mad Men for you.
Good job.
Thanks. I'm going to go zoo hunting now.
Thank you to Lionsgate for making this all possible.
Thank you to AMC.
Thank you for AMC.
This is heavier than I thought it was going to be. Oh, never mind.
All right, thank you very much.
You very much.